वे चैट बॉक्स का उपयोग करके अपने प्रश्नों को टेक्स्ट बुक्स will help change these views and ideas. Ering sir, over to you. So you can keep your because there is a heavy rainfall situation in Arunachal Pradesh. The network seems to be a little poor. So you can keep your video off and can communicate with by keeping your video off.
Sir, you can start.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
The network. There's a network is a big problem here because I'm staying in a village, Remy. So it's quite away, and we have a lot of network issues. I must really thank all the members of the policy metrics, especially Abhishek and Vaishnavi and all your colleagues. I'm grateful that you have taken up this cause. At policy metrics has always taken up issues of the Northeast, and especially in this case where it completely involves me. One of the YouTubers, Paras Singh, had taken up an issue with me because I had written to the Prime Minister on the stopping of the PUBG. The PUBG had been banned with the other 59 apps of the government, of the Chinese, the government had banned it, and PUBG also was banned. Now, there another company, Afton, is going to introduce the Battleground Mobile India. It is the same as PUBG. So I had objected to it. I had written to the Honorable Prime Minister, like I always have done, let it be in Parliament or even in the Assembly. Now the issue is, like you have said, that why Paras Singh had started this episode of racial discrimination. Paras Singh is a YouTuber, and when he says that, no, I'm ignorant about Arunachal Pradesh, I'm ignorant about Mr. Ninong Ering, it's, it is very difficult to understand because it could be his ignorance. But imagine a man who has got 4,50,000 followers. I'm sure he must be very much aware of Arunachal Pradesh, the style beauty of Arunachal Pradesh, the natural beauty of Arunachal Pradesh, its culture, its hospitality, the tourism sector, everything. And of course, the sensitive part of being a border area with China. This kind of racial discrimination has been coming along through ages. We'll have to say ages. We have heard so many cases in Bangalore. We have heard even during this COVID period, people even hesitated to give rooms to the children because of the grounds that we had the chinky looks. Even in Hyderabad, there is no issue with because that we have the chinky looks. If we have the chinky looks, does not mean that we are not part of India. So this racial discrimination issue has always been taken up by all of you, and I'm very grateful to all the participants today. And I would like to take questions from you when not only about my experience, I can share my experience with you as an minister, a union minister, as an MP, member of parliament, or even as an MLA. So let us set the ball rolling, and I would like to discuss with you and take up issues, at least in regard to the racial discrimination and what kind of stringent laws can be taken up to control this issue of discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is true that this kind of racial discrimination has continued for ages. So The question that I want to put forward to you is with regards to the legal framework. According to you, what are the limitations in the existing legal framework of our country that allows discriminatory attitude towards Northeastern Indians to continue? Is the legal framework adequate to address the issues of racial slurs, discrimination at the workplace, physical attacks targeting Northeastern Indians? And how can the law be strengthened to address this issue of othering faced by Northeastern Indians? Ninong sir,
Uh,
over to you.
this is a very important question you have put to me. Being a lawmaker, that also in the parliament, I had seen that when that issue of Nido Tini Tania or the issue of the Mizo girl who was murdered, we'll have to say that the law that is now prevailing, that is prevention of atrocities against scheduled tribes and scheduled castes. So this is not enough. It is completely not enough to protect the people from the northeast. So there has to be uh, a law should be enacted, and the recommendations of the Besborough committee was a very welcome sign. So we had thought that some laws would be enacted, and especially for the northeast region, because when you say prevention of atrocities against scheduled tribe and scheduled caste, means could be from Odisha, could be from Bihar, could be from Jharkhand, or the Bhils of Rajasthan. So it is just a casual way, like in the Nadio Tanya case, we really wanted to put some very strict laws, not only on the murder, because that murder is under section 300 to 302, that is a murder case. But the atrocity, or the, you can say, the criminal racial issues that are coming up, for that also there has to be some very stringent laws. People cannot be judged by their looks. People cannot be judged by the way they dress or their food habits. So I will suggest, and I'm always in favor of the Besborough committee, because that was initiated during my period under the when the Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh was there, and we had said that this Besborough committee recommendation be adhered to. Of course, because of the change of guard, it could not be followed up. But in these recent discussions with the honorable chief ministers, the honorable parliaments from the northeast, we have to take up a stringent law, strict law, the protection of the northeast, at least on the racial discrimination. It should be to have some very stringent laws. Uh, if you will recollect, just last year, yes, about in the United States, where for a person who was murdered only on the racial grounds, and they took it up in such a way that the whole world supported them. And similarly, in this case also, just recently we had this Twitter storm where all the people of the Northeast, not only the Northeast, but also from the mainland India. When I say mainland India, sometimes I say, why are we also not in the mainland? We are also mainland Indians. We are, our looks may be different, our culture may be different, but we are all true Indians. So we have to take, when you say mainland India, means northeast also should be a part of the mainland. My take in this issue is that we have to follow the Besborough committee recommendations. My appeal to all the chief ministers that they must really be very firm and convince the central government that kind of act should be placed, kind of amendment made in the constitution, where the northeast people must be protected, at least from the racial slurs. So that's my take on that.
Thank you for your comments, sir. And your comment on the Best Borough Committee report is a very important one. And the next question that I'm going to put to you is regarding this claim that Northeastern Indians knowingly or unknowingly contribute to their own discrimination. This question is a little sensitive one. In 2019, there was a short film revolving around the theme of discrimination faced by Northeastern Indians. It was released on Netflix. It was called Akhoni. It made an effort to not limit itself to one side of the story and to show how the attitude of Northeasterners also impacted the discourse. One aspect of the storyline implied that the Northeastern people huddle up together and remain utterly uninterested in mingling with others, and that both parties involved in the situation are responsible for it. Ering sir, do you think this claim is legitimate and should be made part of the discourse?
Yes, it's a very sensitive question, and if I give my comments, I think my children who are down there in cities may take it otherwise. But partially answer yes. Partially answer that our children also are slightly the same way. Could be that they have that inferiority complex kind of thing in them, which I always say that this should not be. We may be from Mizoram, we may be from Manipur, we may be from Nagaland, we may be from Arunachal Pradesh, we may be from Sikkim, we may be from Assam. That aloofness which you say could be the lingo franco which we have in the northeast. Say in Assam we have the Assamese, Manipur they speak Manipuri. In Mizoram they speak only Mizo. They speak English also, but the regional language is given much more importance. It could be, I think, in Sikkim or Arunachal Pradesh or in Tripura. There, of course, they speak Tripuri or Bengali. Arunachal is one state where you have to speak either in English or in Hindi, because we have got more than 24 major tribes. Not even one of the tribes we understand each other. So naturally, we have to speak the language which is very common, whether it's Hindi or English. So this could be one reason when you go down to cities, our children face a kind of uh, alienation that we speak those who speak Manipuri will just be in that group. People who are Assamese, they'll be in that group. Then say from other states like in Meghalaya or even Nagaland, they will like to stay with their own friends in the friend circle. So my request and my appeal to all the children there in who are in all the cities, big cities, they have to mingle. And by mingling, you can have some interaction. When I was in Delhi, I always used to have these festivals. I used to celebrate festivals in the Arunachal Bhavan. I used to call all my own friends, also member of parliaments, also even people from Delhi. We used to call stars, also we used to call some MLAs or ministers also. That way, what happens? A lot of other people also come, other guests also come, and they see our culture, they see our hospitality, they see our dress code, they see how we speak, we mingle with people, they see our hospitality. So that is my suggestion to all my children working, those who are working outside or who are studying outside. It is true, you have to concentrate on your studies, you have to concentrate on your works, uh, especially those who working in the call centers, they don't have time. In fact, whole night they have to be awake and whole day they have to sleep. In addition to that, they have to find
Sorry?
I think he might try to reconnect. So let us wait for a
Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah for a
Yes.
minute.
Abhishek sir, that's also a thing, no? Like, we're not only dealing with the region as a whole, is also dealing with issues apart from racial discrimination. There are issues of technology and connectivity that also needs to be addressed in the region. So I think that's also one issue that is very pertinent right now. What
Yeah,
do you think
yeah,
about it?
definitely. That's I think while working with sir, when we were looking at the different issues of Northeast, so one of the key issue was connectivity and connectivity of every kind. Be it roadways, railways, airways, and one of the important is internet connectivity. So that has been an issue, and sir informed about this earlier today. So let us wait for a minute and hope he joins very soon. Meanwhile, if anyone has any comments, so they can share in the chat box, and we can. I think sir has joined. Let us see.
Ering sir, are you back? Meanwhile, if anybody who has experienced internet connectivity issues in the Northeast would like to share an anecdote or two, is very welcome to do so. Because personally, when I was in school, we never, in our house, we never had Wi-Fi connectivity. So it always used to happen over mobile network connectivity. And I never had a very pleasant experience. Sir is back. Sir, can you hear us?
yeah, I can. Yeah, I'm so sorry. The net here is pretty bad. So, like I was telling you, the film Akuni, of course, I didn't watch it, but I hear that it is pretty. It has been quietly, largely appreciated by people throughout India. Those who have watched about the discrimination of the Northeast people. But we have actors like John Abraham. We had a movie, in fact, Rangoon, which was shot in Pasighat. We had a movie Koila, which had been by Shah Rukh Khan and Madhuri Dixit. We, in fact, even now they're shooting a film by Varun Dhawan. So if these movies, when we explain to them, when we have discussions, when we give it in writing also, or even the social media, there are a lot of people who don't see the social media. But if you see a movie, everyone sees it. I think even that attempt had been made about the racial discriminations of the Northeast. It's a very big challenge. Some people mind it also, but one should not mind. We should feel bad because is what is practical and is going on, that has to be expressed. It should be shown. So I'm sure through this media and through these movies also, we can build up the relations between the Northeast and the mainland. Even the movie which I saw on Maricom, where Madhuri Dixit, she had starred on that. But there also, if somebody from the Northeast with the chinky eyes, if she could have been shown, that would have been more realistic. Because I know she had done a very good job showing, depicting Maricom. But I'm sure if it had been done from the Northeast, people would have appreciated. People in those who had seen the movie, it may be it could have been a flop, but you would have seen that okay, there are the people of the Northeast look like this, they act like this, they eat like this, they dress like this. That kind of uh, uh, movement could have been made. So that is my take on the movies.
Thank you so much, sir, for mentioning a couple of very key points about media and how certain elements and instruments can be used to make others more aware about our region, about the culture, about food, about habits and traditions. One particular comment on the chat box is from Vidya Lakshmi. She says, yes, exactly. We Northeast students are the ones who always face this connectivity issues during online classes. So, my next question is connected with education and the educational curriculum. Ninong sir, how far do you think inclusion of a chapter in the NCERT textbooks will help change this discriminatory attitude towards people from the Northeast? Ninong sir, over to you. Sir, am I audible to you? Okay, we will wait for a couple of moments. Meanwhile,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Am I audible?
yes, you are audible, Ninong sir.
We have this network issue. Can you hear me? Yeah, yeah. So
Yes.
this issue of again, I come back to the Besborough committee, MP Besborough committee that recommended that it should be be compulsory. Of course, the NCRT had tweeted that day. They had given a reply during that Twitter storm that we have books of the Northeast and it is just a supplementary read. So a supplementary read is not very important. Those who are very much in the studies, who are very much going for competitive exams or who want to really excel themselves during the examinations will not go for supplementary reads. So it does not make much of a difference. But if you, it's a small chapter, say just about our freedom fighters, about the beauty of the Northeast, about the cultures of the Northeast, about they could have even written about the Ahom kings or about the Manipuri kings or even the culture that we are so rich in diversity, but we are very rich in culture. If those are depicted in the class books, let it be in the primary level, let it be in the middle level. The children, we have to catch them young. So if these books are made compulsory, some chapters on the Northeast, I'm sure the people say, if you say Lachit Barphuka, now even as a small kid, I used to hear about him. I used to see his bravery. And, you know, my uncle is not greater than my country. Those famous sayings, it is remembered in our hearts. Everybody remembers that. So these kind of stories, if they're depicted, people will in the Bendan also will read it and say, हाँ नॉर्थ में भी ऐसा होता है, नॉर्थ ईस्ट में भी हमारे फ्रीडम फाइटर्स थे, नॉर्थ ईस्ट में भी ऐसा कल्चर होता है. Then they will get.
It seems like we have lost Ering sir again. Um, Meanwhile, there are comments on the chat which mention that if people from the region huddle together, it's because we feel safer in those colonies rather than elsewhere. Is there anyone who would like to offer counter view about this on the chat? Would be more than welcome. Another comment on the chat box by Darpi says, I think another factor why we Northeastern students find it hard to make real friends or assimilate with others is because of the way we are seen. In my experience, I was mostly seen as someone exotic and not as a colleague or simply a person. Yes, we would like to have Ninong sir's views on this particular aspect, actually, of how people from the Northeast may be perceived, um, their appearance may be perceived in a particular manner. Is there anyone who would like to share any experience where their appearance was objectified and seen in a particular manner? Sharvi Saxena?
I think Ninong sir is back. Or no? Oh, can you hear us? Yeah. Sorry, you want to share with us something?
Yes, although I am not from Northeast, but I have a lot of friends from Northeast, and I have a lot of affinity for Northeast. My best friend, this is a very menial incident, which is actually not menial, and it has been normalized wrongly. So my best friend, we studied together in Delhi Public School, and often our political science teacher used to say to her, "तुम तो दूसरे देश से हो," or something like that, which was supposed to be a joke, but if you look at it, it is not a joke, and it has very wrongly been normalized. And even in University of Delhi, there are many professors and teachers and colleagues which jokingly say chinky or associate people with the China unnecessarily, because and they do not treat Northeast as a very integral part of India, which is a big problem. And if you take an offense on that, people think that you can't take humor. But anything which questions your identity, your nationality, it is not humor. So, which is very wrong. And I'm very happy that we are having this webinar and we have Ninong sir among us to enlighten us on such topics.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience, Sharvi. And I absolutely agree that we need allies who will be there to offer a view on what the fellow countrymen face. So it's not a fight of us against them, it's a fight against discrimination. And I also think these allies have such a huge responsibility. Allies from the rest of India, they have a huge responsibility to also join in this fight. Thank you so much for being an ally here.
You check once again with sir if he has joined again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can
We
you hear
now.
me?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. In fact, we didn't have this problem so much, but now I don't know, because there's too much of rains and all in Arunachal Pradesh. So I think that is the reason. Because I live in a village, I'm not in the town. If I had been Pasighat, I think I could have connected myself. But I'm here in the village. It's called Rami. It's a very small village, so they have some network issues here.
So it's
So
definitely
anyway, I just heard about.
it's totally understandable, sir.
I'm so sorry.
No, no, it's good. So you may continue. You were mentioning about the textbook.
Yes. So I was just mentioning, and I heard now Sharvi Sharma also. I just heard her speak about what kind of the discrimination that is taking place, and the way the words they use, chinky and all that, is very unfortunate. But we have people like Kiran Rijiju down there. He's the sports minister, and now the Olympics is coming. And everyone should know that he's from Arunachal Pradesh, where the YouTuber Paras Singh has said that he does not know Arunachal. I was a union minister myself. Kiran Rijiju is a union minister there. The people from Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, all Meghalaya, all my friends are there as member of parliaments. And if people just knowingly ignore it, and that is very unfortunate. The only word I can say is very unfortunate. Now, regarding the inclusion of textbook, I would really recommend, and I'm sure that after that Twitter storm, there has been some response even from the government. I heard that even today there was a webinar today also by in the speakers, all the Northeast speakers were having a meeting where even this issue of racial discrimination came up. So it's a good thing that we are also discussing that. Honorable speakers from all the assemblies of the Northeast had a discussion on this, and this was also the racial discrimination which was on me, that also has been mentioned. So we have all to unite together, we have to work together and see that this, and we hope that the next session, at least some strong measures must be taken in Parliament.
Absolutely, sir. I totally agree with you. There is a question on the chat by Manoj Kumar. Sir, am I audible to you?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So, sir, he writes that a large part of Bengaluru's unorganized economy depends on migrant laborers, especially from the northeastern part, serving as security guards, construction workers, and even plantation workers in Karnataka. His question is, do we require to revamp our policy and bring special laws that can better serve the issues of employment security of northeastern people in other parts of the country? So, in short, sir, I would like to paraphrase the question and put to you the question that it is often noticed that um, my question is regarding discrimination at the workplace. Ale Metha from Nagaland, in an interview with the BBC, she had complained of facing severe discrimination at the workplace. She felt that those who were less qualified than her and those who did not perform as well as her were promoted over her. It is often noticed that even if this form of discrimination in terms of promotion is disallowed in the public sector employment, it does continue unofficially in many ways, even in government sector jobs. So, Ering sir, how do you think this discrimination at the workplace, both public and private sector, can be mitigated? Or how can we overcome this kind of discrimination at the workplace? Ering sir, over to you.
Yeah. Uh, Manoj Kumar has given a very relevant question, which is very practical. But in these times, during the pandemic, not only from the Northeast, but everyone, because when they don't have jobs in the cities, they have to go back to the villages. Similarly, especially I know in Assam also, uh, people from the Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur also, they all work in the cities. They work as guards, they work as parlors, they work in hospitality. They especially even there are some expert in the tea gardens or in plantations. So because the jobs are very less here, they have to move down. We had, especially before we had the issue of the kind of we had these issues like Alpha, we had issue like NSC, and we had issue like Bodoland, BLT, and all those issues were there. So once these children had come out and served in the mainland, they wouldn't like to go back. But last, if you remember, there was an exodus also. And during that exodus, thousands and thousands of people had to go back to the northeast because of some issues that took place in Kokrajhar, if I'm correct. So my take in this is that we will always face this racial discrimination. We will always face it on condition because of our looks, and all five fingers are not the same. People have, we won't say that the people in Delhi or Punjab or uh, Gujarat or even in Bengaluru, that people don't respect us, they don't treat us as like the northeasterners. They treat us just as 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 part of them. Not the same. Like I said, there are people who unknowingly they like to pester them by habit. So you will find that not only in here in the mainland, but also you'll find that in the northeast also. When people, when you come to Arunachal, mainland who come to serve here in business purposes or in government jobs, they look different. So naturally, it is. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, now we can, sir.
Yeah. 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 So it's always disturbing. Yeah. So why I'm saying is that people out of unemployment, it is api pet ka sawal hai. People have to go out. So what Manoj has said, that this pandemic, not only from the northeast but even from UP, Bihar, they've all gone back because there is no scope for employment. And when everything is locked, so they have nothing to do, so they have to go back. So, but people from the northeast are willing to serve here, even though the that racial slur is there. People come here, they come to serve, they come to work for their parents at home. They come to uh, take the exposure here in the big cities, and it helps them also because it's a kind of a source of earning also. And most of the children from the northeast, I've seen them when I go to the malls, when we go to the restaurants, or if we go to the hotels, you'll find all of them working there, and we feel proud that our children are working here. There is nothing wrong in working. If you do some wrong thing, like you're doing drugs or you're stealing or you're some other issues which are very negative, then we feel bad. But if you go and serve as a guard, one should be proud that okay, we are giving service to that particular person, or we are giving service to that department. Even you can see the armed forces. You'll see all our children now, even the police in main cities, maximum cities, our boys are working there in the Delhi police or in some other state police. In the army, they are there. In the paramilitary forces, they are there. So you go to the railways, you'll find them. You go to telecom, you'll find them. Our own boys. So I think that our Mr. Manoj's statement that because of this people from the northeast, how can we get them connected? It's a good question. I think because of this pandemic, that issue was there. But now after this, we hope that one day the pandemic will be over. then when it becomes normal, you see that the people of the Northeast, they are very willing, they're very much willing to stay in the cities, and we work and give service to the people.
Yes, 100%. I think I totally agree, and I think the pandemic has also changed a lot of side dynamics for all sections of the population. Meanwhile, there is a question on the chat box which talks about the kind of ignorance demonstrated by politicians, and the fact that the larger intelligentsia remains silent when this ignorance is demonstrated by the politicians. So the person comments that once an Indian MP said in the parliament that Mizo learned insurgency from his brother Fizo, and they were siblings. So in 2001, while presiding over a meeting of the NEC, LK Advani had asked the CMs of Northeastern region to become, quote, more Indians. Only then Nagaland CM Mr. S.C. Jamir had protested. So the question put on the chat box is why such discrimination and ignorance is demonstrated by politicians, and why the larger intelligentsia remains silent when such comments or ignorance is demonstrated by politicians. Sir, your two thoughts on this?
Yes, I can admit they maybe have some ignorance, but in that period when Mr. L.K. Advani was the Deputy Prime Minister, there were a lot of issues in the Northeast, insurgency. So he must have thought that the people say, let Alpha was at its highest, it was in very high. The movements were very strong that time. NSCN was very strong. The BLT, UNDL were very strong that time. So I think that was the reason that he wanted that all of them to come back. And regarding Fizo and Mizo, I think that's a wrong statement. It's very, we'll have to say it is completely ignorance by the, if at all there, like common people are there who know it, but purposely they like to be ignorant. So, but we can't blame anyone on that. But of course, Advaniji's statement, getting angry and annoyed on that statement, it is true, because we from the Northeast, all our leaders are very proud, and we are proud to be Indians. We work for the country. It is a feudal system of government where the state government has its own responsibilities, the central government has its own responsibilities. But ignorance, if you say that the politicians throughout India, they have concerns for the Northeast, and especially this Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has said that if this pandemic was not there, then each and every minister, the union minister, was supposed to go and visit all the states of the Northeast. So that was a very welcome gesture, and we have always seen that. And when the pandemic was not there, most of the ministers came and visited us. I may be in the Congress, but you do a work or you don't do a work, but you come here and see the Northeast and visit either Mizoram or in a far off place in Manipur, or you go to the interior places of Arunachal Pradesh, we feel good. Of course, when you say Assam, Meghalaya, and Sikkim, these are tourist destinations. So visiting them is just very normal. But visiting an interior village in Arunachal Pradesh, visiting a very interior part in Mizoram or in Manipur, that signifies that the central government also has some concern for us. Even during late Rajiv Gandhi's time, he always used to visit some very interior places, right in the Chinese border in Gailing, Tooting. So we used to be very proud, and we used to be very strengthened, and our morale used to be boosted up. So this practice has to keep on coming, and Once the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, if he keeps this policy that the Northeast has to be not only, we must not look east, but we must jump east, we must act east, that kind of that that duty must be there among all our politicians. And then ignorance by itself, it will fade away, I think.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your question about, thank you for your statement on the aspect of ignorance. Related to this particular issue, sir, there is one particular comment on the chat box, how from Kamaika about how ignorance is not only on behalf, or ignorance is not something that is only the rest of India carries, but there can also be othering within othering, which means that not the comment on the chat says not mainlanders alone, but even non-tribal northeastern people use discriminatory and definitely disrespectful terms to objectify tribals. The question on the chat goes on to ask what can be done in the individual capacity to counter this when our known ones might actually be the perpetrators. Should we be kind while confronting or rather be strong worded? Sir, your comments on this particular question?
This also is a very sensitive question you're putting on me. But let us say that we have to be strong in our own identity. When I am a Naga, I should be proud I am a Naga. If I am an Arunachali, I should be a proud Arunachali. If I am from Assam, I must be a proud Assamese. Similarly, like that in all our states, it has to be there. But that does not mean that before an Arunachali, I am an Indian first. So that kind of integration, if we can create, I think that would be much more better. Just saying that, okay, I'm a Bihari or I'm a UP or I'm a non-tribal, I'm a tribal. If this issue comes, then there will be no end to it. And this racial discrimination will always be there. So, first of all, we have to change our mindsets. And how we change the mindset, how are we to go forward, that has to be seen. But during my tenure as a parliamentarian in Delhi, I have seen there were so many parliamentarians amongst us who were very good to me. I've always taken their advice. They were always very suggestive. Even when I joined the first time also, they always advised me. They always guided me. So that will depend on the mindset of our people. Like I said, when you go to the market, there are people who catcall. Not only the uh, our Mongolian people, but even outsiders, even foreigners, they say like that. So we can't stop them, but we have to be strong within ourselves if we are to reply to them or not. But if these stringent laws are there, I'm sure when they speak as Chinese or Korean or Japanese or even as Gorkhes, that time if these stringent laws are made, they will think twice. Like this Paras Singh's case. Of course, he was there for the last 2 weeks. I heard he's been granted bail today, but I don't know how far that is true because I'm here in my own village, so I don't know what is going on. But I think that if the stringent laws are there, then naturally people will have a kind of a fear psychosis that अगर हम गलत काम करेंगे तो हमको तो कानून हमको पकड़ेंगे. That kind of feeling must be there. Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, the takeaway from your comments were very significant, and your comment on the fear psychosis was I think a very pertinent one. So we have one more question on the chat box, after which I will go ahead and hand it over to my colleague for the vote of thanks. So the last question for you from the chat box, from the audience that is the person who has put the question has never lived in the Northeast. He says most northeastern states have a population in lakhs or maybe a few crores. Further, the northeastern states have policies to protect their culture, such as the inner line permit and other permits. The question goes on to say that, however, these permits somewhat prevent mainland Indians from setting up businesses or permanently residing in the northeastern region. So his question is, what is the way forward? Sir, over to you.
Thank you. This is a very important question which will always haunt us. In Parliament also, most of our members have said that if you're in India, why should there be an inner line permit? Why should there be a permission for the mainland Indian or any Indian to go to the northeast? So let me be very frank in this. This Bengal Federal Regulation in 1873 was introduced so to protect the people of the northeast, so that people would not be exploited. So even now, people, if you go to the very interior villages, they are very much ignorant. They are illiteracy is also prevailing there. You have to go 14 to 15 days march. So all these issues are the reason why that some reservation is there, a policy on the inner line permit. It really affects tourism. That I agree. It affects tourism. But because that people have to be protected, that people have that kind of exploitation should not take place. So the central government is also still supporting that cause, that the people of the Northeast are still very naive, and we have to still give them protection, so that suppose even in Assam you'll see a lot of issues have come up. In Tripura it has come up. In fact, even in Meghalaya it has come up. So of course Nagaland, Manipur and Arunachal, we are still protected. So that is the reason why, because if outsiders come, they'll start buying the land, uh, then there will be kind of, on the local population, it will really affect. People will, we are a very minority population, especially in Arunachal Pradesh. If you see, it is just the density of population is just 14 to a kilometer. So but if you go to a place, metropolitan city like Delhi or uh, Mumbai or Kolkata, it will be not in lakhs, also it will be in crores. So that is the reason why I think the state government is also still very strongly, they want the protection of the states, and not only us, but even the other northeastern states also have started demanding for inner line permit. But this inner line permit is not to keep away tourists, it's not to keep away other people to come and visit their areas, but it is there just to give protection on the lands, on the rights, on the forests, on the minerals, on the mines. So that's the reason why this protection and the inner line are still there. Uh, it will take some time for the Northeast, until and unless the mainland India adopts them as their own brothers and sisters. Till then, we will have to have this protection. We'll have to have the inner line. And I'm sure the people there also will understand this issue. But whoever wants to come, they're very much welcome here. The hospitality of the Northeast knows no bounds. And especially in the tour after this pandemic, I'm sure that people will once again come to the Northeast. And when tourism is boosted up, There will be a boom here. And then even people who are working outside will have a chance to come back and work in their own places. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that is an absolutely terrific way to end the question answer session, that hospitality of the Northeast knows no bounds. And we are always welcoming people, welcoming our countrymen. Thank you so much, sir. And on this note, from there's a comment, Abhishek sir um, has put that we have limited time today, but you are always welcome to engage in the conversation on the social media handles of Policy Matrix. I have put the email of Policy Matrix on the chat, and Abhishek sir has also put Policy Matrix Twitter handle at Policy Matrix on the chat. So it's a platform for political issues where you can engage in the discourses and also continue this conversation here. Now, I would thank everyone for their engagement in the conversation. Hope to see you on Policy Matrix, the platform. I now extend the WebEx platform to my colleague, Advocate Mordhvaj, to deliver the vote of thanks. Mordhvaj, over to you.
Thank you, Vaibhavi. First of all, a very good evening to Mr. Ninong Ering sir and other dignitaries who have joined us for this event. It's my privilege to deliver this vote of thanks. First thing first, on this occasion, I would especially like to thank the people of Northeast India and the people of Arunachal Pradesh for their contribution in building this great nation. During the independence also, their contribution was no less. History books might have forgotten them, but we haven't. Like who doesn't know about the Bir Tikender Ajit Singh, the crown prince of Manipur? Who doesn't know about Moji Diba, and another freedom fighter who later became the INC president from Arunachal Pradesh? And these are just a few names. Therefore, it is very necessary. It is very necessary to introduce the history of Northeast in NCRT, and as also rightly pointed out by the Ering sir. Moving on, I would like to thank Honorable Mr. Ninong Ering sir for sparing the time from his busy schedule and enlightening us on this major issue. Truly, sir, this evening has made our whole day fruitful, and the credit goes to you only, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for delivering this lecture and entitling us with such a critical issue. Next, I would like to thank the team of Policy Metrics for organizing this event, and a special thanks to Mr. Abhishek Ranjan sir for being the backbone of this event. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our moderator, Ms. Vaibhavi Sharma Patak, for moderating this event, and a special thank to each and every member of our team. Thank you, everyone. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Modaj. Bye.